Hey guys, I'm just out here spinning on the dough deck a little this afternoon. I'm not really covering anything today like last time I did the drop spindle when I was filming out at the lake, and that was fun, and at the Capitol. But today I'm just going to sit down and spin with you for a bit. This is some fleece that we just washed a couple days ago. And it's kind of ratty and stuff, and that's why I like to card it, is because that's going to open it up and let me do the long draw with it pretty easy. If it was a little better of a fleece, what I would like to do with it is actually just draft it from the lock. But because this is kind of really curly and stuck together, carding it's going to be my better go-to. Alright, so to get my leader, I just wrap some fiber around the end of the spindle tip and I start drafting. I'm going to try to draft this a little thick, but we'll see how that goes. After you've got your leader, you can move it to the back of the spindle, and then you're off and running. It is cold here, but I'm loving it. It actually snowed for the first time today. Now you guys will get this episode the day before Thanksgiving, but that's not when I'm recording it. As a matter of fact, I think today is the 13th of November. Yesterday, on the 12th of November, I actually filmed the drop spindle episode. I do a bunch of these in a short time period, but then I upload them to drop on consecutive Wednesdays so that I can get way ahead of my schedule and not worry about running out of time to get an episode out, and I kind of like that. If I were covering fiber events and things of that nature, I couldn't do that because I would have to talk about upcoming events, then I'd have to talk about the events after I got back in a timely fashion, but we're not covering any of that on here, so I am able, if I can manage it, to shoot a year's worth of podcasts in advance and then post them to drop periodically, which is nice for you guys because these podcasts might come out long after I'm gone if that's the case. I have been trying to think of some indoor locations for shooting, but I really need it to be a place that, even though it's indoor, has access to natural lighting during the day, so that it's something I could do without worrying about how it's going to affect the visuals. The resolution on this feed is so great that you really need the daylight to bring out the clarity of what's going on here with the yarn and stuff. Otherwise I could probably do it in the house under incandescent lights and stuff, but I do not think that would be optimal for the way this is shot. Man, this just goes so fast. So I actually tried to shoot earlier today, and the phone died on me. I think that the cold is actually having a problem with how long it'll run on the percentage of battery it has, because I should have been well within my means, but it stopped way early. So now I'm having to shoot again, but I already have a full quill of this stuff ready to go, so it's nice that I'll be able to apply it as soon as I get in with this. Or maybe I'll try to shoot tomorrow, and that can be an episode, applying of these two quills. I like the dark fiber, it's pretty nice. I found recently that people are kind of surprised that the wool I have when they run into me is dark, and they want to know how it's dark, Surely people have heard about black sheep. But I take my wheel with me to work every day, and I spin on breaks and lunch, and I work in a state agency. So, a lot of the people that are coming in are trying to license their car, or trying to get their driver's license, pay their taxes, things like that. So we really deal with the public. So a lot of strangers come by while I'm doing this and want to ask questions and stuff, which I love. But then when they ask me how I got the wool black, I don't really know how to respond to them. I can't really remember before I was in fiber arts what my perceptions were about wool and sheep and things like that, but I don't know that I ever really thought that all sheep were white. I've been a little surprised to come across that, but it has happened quite a few times to me now. Of course, we raise Jacob sheep, and the first thing, I always hear when I show people pictures are that, they look like goats. And they do kind of look like goats, but if we raised Angora goats, people would tell us they look like sheep. You can probably hear the traffic behind me. I'm like right on the highway here. We live in downtown Jefferson City, and the river is just over the hill here. So we get a good amount of wildlife at night wandering through the yard and things like that. We used to keep the pygmy goats living here in town because we've got a fenced backyard and whatnot. And every now and then the foxes would come up to check them out at night. And if they didn't get back across the road before daylight came and cars started to move, they wouldn't cross the road. So they'd be stuck back here in the block, which is kind of wooded in between all these houses and stuff. But they'd be here for the day and wouldn't be able to vacate until way late at night when traffic died down and stuff. So that's something else, to be in such a populated area, but to have the wildlife coming and going. We get what most people get, the opossums and raccoons. Of course, we have squirrels, but lots of rabbits. We have foxes. There should be some bears on the river, but we've never seen them come up here, and we've never had deer, although I do see deer quite a bit when driving through the city, just on people's lawns and stuff, wandering through. I'm not really sure where they're coming from or going to, but we haven't ever had that as an issue on this part of town. speaking of Jefferson City, Dave Ginch of Ozark Handspun, it's a yarn company that makes these really lofty yarns, the thick and chunky, lumpy bumpy stuff in all the bright colors. He runs his business out of his home, and it's a block that way. I can see it from here, which is kind of neat to both be in the business and end up living so close to each other. Was exciting when we found out that he was so close. His yarns are amazing. We did eventually have to move our pygmy goats out to the farm because on Sunday afternoons we'd be grazing them out here on the front lawn, and people that were passing by would be like swerving all over the road while they were rubbernecking looking at the goats, and we just knew we were going to end up buying a person's car someday when they ran into a street sign or whatnot. The shooting schedule is a little difficult right now because I'd like to shoot one of these right when I get home in the evening on most days and have them as backup, or have them where I could do different segments together and things of that nature. But I get off at 4. It only takes me a few minutes, or 4:30. It only takes me a few minutes to get home, but it's dark by 5, so I can't really get in a half-hour episode, even if I'm set up and ready to go as soon as I get here. And I don't like the idea of having to film everything on the weekend, so we don't do anything like that on a Sunday. So I'm going to have to see how it's going to go this winter while it's getting dark so quick, because in the summer it won't be a problem, but in the winter it might be a bit tricky unless I find an indoor place with lots of room and great lighting. I don't know if you guys can see the snow, but it is coming. By the way, you might notice that I primarily use the long draw because it's so quick and so easy, and of course that's what you want when you're filming. It's not that I always use the long draw. When I'm wanting to do a lace weight, I will do this so that I can keep it light and thin. But while filming, it's nicer to just be able to draft back and go. And that's really only possible for me if I cart this stuff really loose. You'll see that I don't really load up the carders a whole lot when I card. That's why I'm only getting these small bits off here to spin with, but it's because I need it really lofty. I don't want it compacted. I don't want it dense, because that's what makes it so easy to draft. So if you've had a problem with the long draw in the past, I would say that's your best shot, is that you've probably had fiber that was too dense. I'm not sure I can actually long draw from roving that you would like purchase from a mill or something of that nature. That is too dense for me. I thought it would be tricky to film 30 minutes at a time, but I haven't had a problem with that. What I have had a problem with is I like to kind of paste pictures on the beginning and the end of the videos, just to dress it a little more, and I am running out of those pretty quickly. So I might have to cut it back to like 2 an episode, because when I get an episode shot and I need the pictures, it is a bit of a bother to like actually have to set something up and get them taken. I kind of thought that I would just use various farm pictures from over the years, but I don't know that too many of those vary enough that they'll look good week after week. I will try to use quite a few, or get quite a few of the animals though, because that's what I love about the fiber arts, are the animals that make it possible. And certainly if you're sitting at work and watching somebody spin on your computer, animals are part of the fun. Now, one thing that is tricky, I usually spin barefoot, and I can't do that because it's so cold. My feet kind of get cold faster than my hands or my head or anything like that. So I had to put shoes on today, and just the added distance of the sock and the sole makes treadling a bit trickier. And I didn't realize I had been treadling barefoot for so long until I came out in boots earlier, and I couldn't do it like it. I just couldn't do it. I had to hold my leg up so high, and then I had to move my foot at a different angle, and it was not working, which kind of surprised me. I did go back in and I got a different set of shoes on, and that has fixed the problem somewhat, but I'm going to have to start practicing in my normal sneakers if I'm going to have to wear stuff while shooting, because it was unexpected. So I mentioned that I spin at work. I only get 15-minute breaks twice a day and then a half-hour lunch. But on a spindle wheel, it's really easy to just sit down and start spinning and have a lot done before you have to head back in, which is nice. I never was able to sit down for less than a half hour when I was using my flyer wheel, just because, by the time you feed the yarn through and do the various things to get started, you didn't really want to get up to go do something else or to step away from the wheel. But this, doesn't matter. You can let the yarn go, because when it's time to go, you just pull it back out, and that's really nice. And that goes for any spindle wheel, of course. You're not going to take a great wheel to work with you, but if you did have a great wheel, you could pick it up. You could pick up the yarn and start right away, and then drop it after 5 minutes, having done quite a bit of yarn, because they're fast, as well. I hear the dogs now. I think this is about the time of night people get home from work, and then they start taking their dogs out, because it's just about 5 o'clock when you really start hearing the dogs running around the neighborhood. Now I've gotten really thin, and it was unintentional. I kind of wanted this whole thing to be thick, but for some reason now I'm drafting out thin just out of habit or whatnot, without paying attention. So I'm going to have to try to make it a little chunkier. Now, I told you earlier that fiber density has a lot to do with your long draw. I would definitely caution against changes in light. The darker it is, usually the heavier my single is. So if I sit down in fluorescent lighting to spin, I can do a fingering weight pretty easy. Now, when I say a fingering weight, what I'm talking about is a single that, when plied with another single the same size as itself, will turn out to be a fingering weight. My singles would have to be even thinner than that, but I don't ever really check the weight of my singles. I do at least a 2-ply, although I rarely do more than a 2-ply. I'm getting some feedback from my spindle because with it so cold out here, the wax is actually solidifying, that allows it to spin freely. And not only is the wax solidifying, but now that my quill's getting full, if it shakes a little bit, that can feed into a loop that makes it vibrate greater. Although, to be fair, it's a lot colder out here than I'm letting on, and I don't know how many people would sit outside with their wheel and spin in these temperatures. I'm hoping my nose isn't bright red and lighting up the screen, but it does feel like my skin has seen better times. Well, I think that's about it for now. I hope to do some things other than spinning on the wheel. Nothing comes to mind right now, but there were a few other things, like maybe just doing prep with the carders, and I would love to do washing fiber. I just don't know if I'm really set up to have the process recorded in like good light, so I'll have to think about that. But yeah, I'd like to do the washing beginning to end, and then do some different examples of carding or combing. But as a mainstay, most weeks I'm just going to sit down with the wheel and do different fibers, but I'll try to change that up at least. Maybe go with light fiber next time. Maybe apply this, like I said, first, but then the time after that go with something white, or at least a mix of dark and light. So, all right, well, thank you.